You're going to get a watercolor paper, and what you want to do with that paper is create one of these gemstones decently large. You want to try and utilize as much of that paper as possible, and you can pick any gem you want. Some that are a little more rectangular, you could use the entire piece of paper. Now, you want to make sure that the spaces you create within your gemstone are decently large because you're going to be going in with watercolor for this project. And essentially, you don't want to try to be putting water in areas that are itty bitty. Think probably the width of a pencil is too narrow, and maybe the width of the ruler, or think of those areas in terms of can you paint in those areas. Outlining with Sharpie is an option. You don't have to, but you can if you like that effect. So that's completely 100% up to you if you want to outline with Sharpie. And then after you get that done, what you'll do is you're going to go in with watercolor. At the back of the room, I'll have scrap paper of watercolors, like little tiny watercolor pieces. And you are welcome to as many of those as you like. I want you to practice wet on wet, and that essentially means you just start with water, and then you put a droplet or two of the next color. And you can actually erase watercolor if you just put a paper towel over it. You can take away whatever you need to. That creates an interesting effect. You can practice blending them together. So that's what the extra watercolor paper is for. So just kind of giving yourself a little bit of extra practice before you start in on your main one. And when you start in on your main, you have to keep in mind that you're going to do things in a pattern. So if you have several geometric shapes in a row, so I've got this kind of long triangular piece right here, and that long one is going to end up being a little bit of purple and red, and that shorter one that I'm working on, that one just has red in it. So you want to make sure that you end up creating a pattern. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to take away some of that color every now and then, just because I have a tendency to put too much. So you want to make sure that you're taking your time with it. The wet on wet really makes a nice effect for this particular project. And just do a section at a time. You notice I'm not doing the sections that are directly next to one another. You want to make sure that you do the opposite ones. So now I'm going to leave that alone, and I might flip this over so that way I am working on the opposite side, letting those smaller areas dry a little bit. And again, I'm kind of seeking a pattern in my artwork, so that way I have a nice design. Something I haven't quite talked about yet is the fact that you do have to choose one intermediate color. So that means that it's kind of an in-between color. It's not exactly purple. It's not exactly red. I'm kind of choosing this violet red. And so that essentially means I'm using red and violet. So you're going to have a limited color palette. So you don't want to use every single color. So currently in that space, you see I'm blending the red and the purple together to make that red-violet. Some areas I'm not going to blend it at all. Just kind of depends on how you want to, where you want to put your patterns and how you want to create your wet-on-wet areas. Now, something I want to mention about the flat cut sides. A lot of times you'll have an area that would be a flat cut. That means the area that is facing towards you. And for this particular diamond, that's going to be that teeny tiny little edge that I have. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm not going to add any color to that. I'm going to do is that as light as possible. And so I'm just going in with water first and adding just a small amount of color to that. And you can always go back in if you need to later and make things darker with watercolor as well. So you don't have to stick with this. On the second day, if it's dry and you want to make things darker, you can always do that as well.